Right. You brought up a really valid point that a lot of people may not even be realizing that they're doing when you have an awful relationship, or maybe you've had a bad experience with an employer and you're like, I'm never getting married ever again. That is going to stick, right? So not only have people saying it in this lifetime, but Shelley, could they have said it in the past lifetime with so much vengeance that it has rolled over into this lifetime?
That's the thing. You know, normally people come for a regression because things are not going that well. I mean, sometimes it's out of curiosity, but normally it's because things are not optimal. And so getting into that source event, those root causes, definitely does yield people going, oh my gosh, you know, in the Middle Ages, I said I was never going to do this again, or I was always going to do that. And then we have to decide again, like, is this beneficial? And sometimes clearing that, just acknowledging that. We go through processes where we imagine there's energetic cords connecting us to things of the past. We can cut those cords, we can bring a healing, understand the learning that we got there. You know, maybe we learned a lesson from that. And now that we get it, then it's okay to release it and just move forward in life.
What about this thought? Because you hear it so much. I'm Jesus reincarnated. I'm Mary Magdalene reincarnated. I'm the Apostle Paul reincarnated. I'm not saying if they are or if they aren't. I'm saying to you, does that possibility exist? Because there seems to be an awful lot of people claiming the same exact thing. I was this person before, but now I'm here today. Well, I've just heard that same story from 20 other people claiming they are the reincarnation of X, Y, and Z, Buddha, Jesus, Krishna, Mary, whoever, Mary Magdalene. Does the possibility exist that they are that person, number one, and that they really did make some type of soul contract? And if so, then why are so many people claiming to have the same contract with the same entities or gods or goddesses, whatever you want to call them, etc.?
That is a great question, actually. The first book that I ever wrote on past lives was called Lifestream, and it came out in 2003, 20 years ago. And I did talk about just some of the broad generalizations of different things that happen in regression. And I did have a chapter on famous people. And to your point there, I did end up at that time regressing 6 or 7 Cleopatras in Dallas, Texas.
Right.
And so, you know, then you have to say exactly as you've said, like, what is going on here? Is this even possible? And I go on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. He's got a lady who calls in who really believes that she is Cleopatra, and she's called in several times when I've been on the show too, and she has a lot of details. So, you know, but then it gets into this whole thing, like, I can't really prove that past lives. I mean, I personally believe in reincarnation, but again, I think that when we're in this physical body, we can't really prove a lot of the things that we talk about. It's just a belief system. It's inner knowing. If all these people think they're Cleopatra, for example, or the Apostle Paul or whoever, I mean, I guess it's certainly possible that maybe one of them is and the rest of them aren't, but you might also be tapping into like archetypal energies. And there might be something, you know, if you go back in the past, let's say you're going to be Cleopatra, you're going to be the Apostle Paul. I say, okay, great. So what were you doing then? And how is that stuff that you used to be doing applying to this thing that you're doing in your current life? And everybody has a story that they're going to be able to go, oh, well, you know what? In that life, I was doing body, 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 and now I'm doing D, 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 and these are related. And so they come to this kind of epiphany. But again, there's no way to really know for sure. Like, did they really live in any life, really? Versus are they just using this archetypal energy? Is there something benefiting them through the archetypal energy that's going to help them resolve things in the now? Because at the end of the day, for me, I mean, there's been a lot of past life regressionists who spend a lot of time trying to prove these things, going, you know, to research and different avenues to try to actually prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these people are who they say they are. That's just really never been part of what I'm attempting to do, because I feel like everybody, as long as this is uplifting and we feel better in the now, then that for me is more important. than whether or not it's real. So I think these memories could come from real past lives, yes, absolutely archetypal energies,
That makes a lot of
the
sense.
collective consciousness.
Do you think there's anything to like, okay, so when people come to you for a past life, so they're like, okay, well, this is the stuff I had to fix from before. I'm come here to fix in this life, blah, 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 blah. Do you counsel them and say, look, in this life, before you die, just get forgive? Like, do you counsel them on their exit out of this one so they don't have to do this? Because, and then maybe they won't have to see you in another life to fix what didn't work in this life. Do you go there with them?
That's a really interesting point. You know, that's a real Buddhist philosophy, actually, that we need to be working right now in this life to prepare ourselves so that we're peaceful and that we're going on to this next incarnation in the most peaceful, loving way possible. I think there is a lot of discussion when people come see me, like, especially in regards to relationships. Obviously, they want to heal those things because they don't want to have to do this again in another lifetime. So there's definitely a lot of that does go on. Yes.
So is it always, from what you know, is it always we got to fix the stuff from the past life, or is it just like shit happened in this life and I just don't have to deal with it in the next life? I mean, and it is what it is. It was just could it ever be as simple as that's just was my experience in that life and just as simple as that? Or am I always
Trying to fix it?
trying to fix it? You know what I mean? Is it always there from what you understand, you know?
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, not every past life is going to be horrible. I mean, you know, sometimes you can go back and find out your soul gifts, your talents. There's good things there too. So it doesn't always have to be, hey, I've got to fix things because things are a disaster. And then the other thing, I had written a book called Heal Your Ancestors to Heal Your Life. So many years ago, sometimes when people would come for past lives, before we could ever even really go into those past lives, something would tell me, you know what, this person needs different kinds of current life healing. And so I developed a lot of different processes to take people into having really profound forgiveness journeys with people who are living here in their current life. And then one of the things that came out of that was every now and then I was guided, hey, let's go meet with the higher selves of mom and dad, not who they are physically, but more as a soul essence. Because sometimes, you know, we have things that go on with our families that are unforgivable or very, very difficult. So let's meet with them more as a soul. And so let's go say, hey, mom and dad, does anybody here need a healing? And if mom says, yeah, our family needs a healing, then we could travel back into the past and send love and light to the ancestors on mother's line. And then this was starting to create great levels of peace and healing as we used our inner vision, aka imagination, which is really where all healing begins, to start to imagine all ancestors between very, very early times and now start to shift and realign. And so the person themselves would receive a healing from that. And so after that book came out in 2021, and
That's the book we talked about on the last show.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope people will go back to that. So since that came out, you know, there's a lot of people talking about this right now. So there's a whole shift in how we're really viewing these things. I would have said even 10 years ago that maybe these, what I call unwanted influences, would have been solely from our past lives, and that's it. But now we know that we really do bring through things from the ancestors. And there's so many people. I've taught a lot of classes since I saw you guys last, and you know, people really believe like part of their soul purpose, as we were discussing a minute ago, is to help their ancestors through doing different kinds of healing. And so I think these influences are coming from past lives, from ancestral things, and then just from, yeah, like you said, like, what if it's just some stuff that hit the fan right here in my current life? And so, you know, and maybe it's not even all bad though. Maybe we're here to think what was good. There was a lot of good, you know, obviously. So, and just kind of take the best, leave the rest, and try to move forward. And definitely there's some validity, definitely, to what you're saying about the point of healing these things is so that we can, you know, that healing energy really affects everybody, even if we're not related. If we show up in the world feeling a little bit more peaceful, being a little kinder, then that affects everybody we encounter. And particularly with ancestors and our past lives, then we leave this life hopefully in an improved way. And we have time And we have the energy in this modern society, like we have never had this moment like what we have now in human history, where we have the resources to, like your show. I mean, this is a great example. We have the luxury to sit here and have this conversation and do this work on behalf of all people. It's really amazing.
It is. There are some types of healing modalities or facilitators, let's say, that I hear all the time. I've been seeing this X, Y, and Z for years. But then I'm looking at the person, I'm thinking, well, what the hell are they doing? Because you're still dealing with the same shit, right? Obviously, whatever this person is doing, this expert, doesn't seem to be working. But I remember that on the last show you had mentioned your sessions can clear some old stuff up very, very quickly. So can you help us understand, why does your method seem to work miraculously when other practitioners that are doing regression or maybe something similar, it don't seem to be working for their patients, because their patients still are having the same issues coming up over and over again? Like they're not healed.
I had given up my horses 20 years before that, was taking Tylenol, Aleve, Tramadol, got off them in 3 days, and I'm getting goosebumps. And if I cry, I'm sorry, but it's really moving. How it's changed my life.